Shalom, shalom. Bless you, bless you, bless you. Apparently, there's a lot of people watching. A lot of people looking for me on social media. A lot of people looking at Prophetic Chatter. Yes. The journey begins. Bless you, bless you. How you guys doing? Hey. It's still morning for me here, but good afternoon to you guys there. Hey, you all, I wanted to just pop in real quick, chat with you for a little bit, if that's all right. How are you guys doing today? Shalom, shalom to my Perry family. Shalom to those that are watching me via Facebook. Shalom to you that are watching me on YouTube as well. Excited to be here. Today is the day that Jehovah has made. We shall rejoice and be glad in it. Just so happy to be able to share with you guys today and all the other days and the weeks and the months that I have been on here. We've had some awesome guests on Prophetic Chatter. It's been a great time, but what I wanted to do today especially, guys, I wanted to pop on and just share a little bit with you about, hey Rick, how are you on Periscope? How you doing? So I wanted to just officially introduce myself. I know a lot of my followers, they know who I am, but they really have not heard my story. They have not heard my story. And so because of that, I want to be able to just share with you guys. And sorry, I thought I had my screen on and I saw the thing still looping, so excuse me for that. However, again, I wanted to just pop in here real quick, just share a little bit with you guys about who I am, share my journey, and just talk to you because I am a person that believes in relationships. I believe in relationships. I believe in reaching out, touching the people. I believe in being relatable. All right, so just trying to wait for a few of you guys to get back in here. And so I want to just take a moment. Just take a moment. Just gonna tweet this out. So I know that there are a lot of you that have been on a very interesting, I'll just use the word interesting journey, but I want to share with you my journey. Now, there are various parts of my life that I can share. I can talk about my Hebrew journey. I can talk about my scribal journey. I can talk about my personal journey. And so I wanted to just come on and just share a little bit if you don't mind, because again, there are lots of people that come on here, they're watching me, they're listening to my teachings, and some people only know me as an apostle, some people know me as a mentor, some people know me as a workshop facilitator, some people know me as a scribe, a poet, an author, and some people know me as, yep, that's Nabia. So I wanted to just pop in, and I'm going to talk to you just a little bit about my journey and how I got here. And so, again, my name is Apostle Nabia Bat Yehuda. I live here on Oahu, Hawaii, and it's really fabulous out here. Also, I am the founder of the Chamber Room Experience. That's my t-shirt, the Chamber Room Experience. And I am the host of Prophetic Chatter, where I talk to ordinary people, where they share their extraordinary God encounters. And it's just so amazing that I'm able to speak to so many people and speak to people that have really been in the trenches and really have gotten their hands dirty, that's done the work, that they don't just talk about it, but they are people that are really being about it. And so that's always a blessing. And like I said, I love building relationships, and it's very important. It's key. And, some people feel like they could do it alone. I don't feel like that. I don't feel as though I can do it alone. It's going to take your help to launch me to where I need to be. And at the same time, for those of you that have enjoined themselves to me, that are a part of my ministry, that are a part of my mentorship groups, well, you guys already know. For those of you who don't know, but for those that do know, you already know how I love to reach back in to pull out the you that is possible, your authentic voice, and I talk a lot about reclaiming your voices. And so from that standpoint, I'm going to talk. Now I'm going to tell you some things about my personal journey and how I got to where I am and where I hope to be. All right, so I'm going to, I just want to turn that down for a second. And so I was born and raised in Brooklyn, New York. My mom, she was a single parent. She has raised up 5 children, of which I am the oldest. My birthday was September 4th. I just turned 54. That's right. I am almost the speed limit. I'm almost the speed limit. I can't believe it. I'm almost the speed limit. And so, yeah, being almost the speed limit, you learn some things. You learn how to slow down. You learn how to slow down. And so, I went to a public school. I came from a very troubled family. I came from a family that really did not they didn't really embrace encouragement. They didn't encourage you as a child. You never got that. And as far as my experiences, I never got that. I never got that. I think my mom stopped hugging me and patting my head after I finished my food when I was probably about 2 years old. And so from 2 years old to now, there has been a disconnect. And so, when I talk to people about their hurts and about rejection, about unfulfilled expectations, I'm talking from a place where I know what I'm talking about. I know what I'm talking about. Hey, Maytane, how you doing? Thanks for joining. And I want to encourage you guys to share this out. And thank you so much for sharing out and giving the hearts. And so, I didn't come from a family that was loving and we're all connected. I mean, right now in my family, there are people that they just don't talk to other people. They just don't. Parents are not close. Grandparents are not close. Siblings are not close. And so there's a lot of rejection going on. There's a lot of people in the family that don't get recognized for their gifts, for their talents, for their abilities. It's like you do something, it's like, so what? There's no acknowledgement. And what's important in a family structure, in a church structure, even in corporate, there is always some type of congruence. There's always a pat on the back. There's always a, hey, good job. And there's always some type of encouragement, and you need that encouragement to grow. Now, I'm thinking about. One day I was walking when I lived in Georgia. I'm from New York, but I had lived in Georgia for a little while, and I was going for one of my many walks where I would just meditate and just really think about things. And so there was a little tiny plant that I saw that actually was breaking out in the cement. It was coming up. And that made me think about, what? The struggle is real. There are people out there that are struggling and that they are trying to make it regardless of their circumstances, no matter the fact that they didn't have a great family structure. Maybe their mom was an absentee. Maybe their dad was absentee. Maybe they did not get that love and the encouragement that they needed in order for them to grow. But you know what? Sometimes you have to encourage yourself. Now, I've been talking for the last few days about anchor thoughts and about rephrasing and restating things and declarations. And I talked a lot about internals. It's what you tell yourself. Sometimes we count on people to help us move along, but sometimes you don't have anybody. are wishing that your mom would give you a call and say, hey, great job. And sometimes that call never comes. Or your dad, and that sometimes that call never comes, or your brother or your sister or your pastor or your boss or whoever. Sometimes it never comes. So then what are you going to do? What are you going to do? How are you going to get from where you are to where you need to be? How are you going to get there? Have you learned to encourage yourself? Are you just going to sit there on the sidelines and just let your life be whatever it is? Hey, Rhonda, how are you? I see you on Facebook. So you just cannot, and I want to encourage you, you can't just sit there. Now, my story may look like your story, and maybe it won't look like it. But I just felt like I needed to come on here and just share so that, you guys know who you're really talking to. Because sometimes somebody's life looks really glamorous from far away. They're like, wow, she lives in Hawaii, or she is always traveling. She's always somewhere. Yeah, okay, but do you know how I got here? Do you know how I got here? And so I started coming from this broken place, this rejected place. And I had to learn some things. And these lessons were hard lessons. I had to learn that sometimes you're not going to have that external support. Sometimes you along the journey, you find out that people that you figured would be in your corner, they're not going to be in your corner. How about this? How about you show up for yourself? How about you show up for yourself? How about you be your own amen corner, your own cheerleading team? How about that? How about that? How about you just start believing in yourself? How about you get away from the whole idea of I can't make it because so-and-so didn't pat me on my back? How about that? How about that? How about that? So it can be painful, and I've walked through some painful places. I've been kicked out of my mom's house. And thank God I never had to live on the street. But when I walked out the door, I knew that I wouldn't be in the street. I didn't know where I was going, but I knew that I would not be on the street. And that's I wasn't in church. I didn't know God. All I knew was, let me get my clothes and I'm going. And sometimes you have to find that place in yourself where you know what, I'm going to be okay. I'm just sharing my story because for those of you that are listening on the replay, my prayer is that this helps you and it undergirds you, and so that you don't get in a place where you're holding bitterness, unforgiveness, offense, you're angry. You have to put those things away, and you have to realize that you are in charge of your own life. My story, not pretty. My story, not glamorous. My story, pretty painful. There's violence, there's attacks, there's disappointments, great disappointments, rejection, went through the rebellious stage, and you know what? Along the journey, there were some decisions that I had to make. There were some decisions that I had to make. And because of that, I learned some things. I learned that I could not always depend on people. I learned that I could not always rely on the external. I realized, watch this, I realized that if I needed to get over there, I had to get up from here. And it starts with the decision. And I want to encourage you, start with the decision. What is your vision? What is your goal? Are you going to let your fear and your anxiety and your stress and the thought of, what if I can't make it? What if nobody helps me? There will be people along the way, I promise you, that will come and help you. They will, while you're in your journey, while you are coming along the way. They will. But in the beginning, there may not be anybody there. They may be, and then maybe they'll just kind of drop off. But you'll have those moments so that it causes you to grow. It causes you to grow. And I had to grow. Was it fun? Absolutely not. But I had to change my mind about how I perceive things, because perception is everything. I'm just sharing my story. But how I perceive things, how I took everything that was external, those things that were working against me. It's kind of like Tai Chi, how you learn to take the other energy that's out there and make it work for you. Now, I'm not into all of that. I don't do New Age. I don't do anything. But there are certain laws. One of those laws is you take lemons and you make lemonade. That's what you do. You take lemons and you say, you know what? I'm going to make some lemonade. And if you don't have any sugar, let me tell you this. You become the sweetener. You make it sweet. You are the one that is able to make life sweet or bitter, because it really has to do with you and your choices. And let me share this. The choices that you made yesterday are affecting you right where you are today. The relationships, those choices, the career, those choices, the state that you live in, those choices. The procrastination, those choices. When you chose not to do, when you chose not to move, because you allowed fear or uncertainty and doubt to hinder you. And so I want to be that voice that tells you this is the way, walk in it. Now, I'm not the voice of God, but I want to be one of those that are able to point you in the right direction, the direction that you should be going. Not the direction that you choose by default because you were too afraid. You were uncertain. You just weren't sure. You know, I love that story in the Bible about the lepers. And of course, when you're a leper, you are shunned. Nobody even wants to get to know you. And in those days, it was just really, really bad. It was horrendous. And you knew death was certain. You just didn't know when. And your body was rotting and falling apart right in front of your eyes. Well, some people have spiritual leprosy, where they are being shunned, where they are misunderstood, where they are not being welcomed, and nobody wants to touch you. And you're looking at your life, your life's work, fall apart right in front of you. But what I like about these lepers, they said, why should we just sit here and die? And they made a decision to get up. And they got up and they ran. And when they ran, there was a sound. It was a powerful sound. And to everybody else, it sounded like an army coming. And so those people ran. And you know what they found? Treasures. They found money. They found food. They found supplies. they found provision, and they found a promise. And so if you just sit here and die, you're going to miss out on your provision. You're going to miss out on the supply. You're going to miss out on your promise. Me, I'm never going to give up. It doesn't matter how hard it gets. It doesn't matter who comes. Doesn't matter who goes. It doesn't make any difference. So this is my encouragement for you. This is my encouragement for you. And I really feel like nobody is really on here live watching, because the Lord wants me to tell this story uninterrupted. Because sometimes people come on and then they say something, you say something, and you kind of get off track. But this story right here will not be one of the ones that is never told. This story is being told. My life is being lived out loud. My life is a testimony of what God can do if you just give him a chance, if you rely on him and not put your confidence in flesh. But you need to believe that he is faithful. You have to believe that he's not going to leave you an orphan. The Bible says, even though my mother and my father forsake me. I like that. I like that because there are people that have been given up. There have been people that are left. Babies have been left in the garbage to die, left at a hospital, left on the porch of somebody's house, left in an open field. I mean, I know when my mom was carrying me, my grandmother, unbeknownst to my mom, I think she was probably a month pregnant, and my grandmother, listen to this, my grandmother gave my mom something to drink that would abort me. And my mom was in so much pain, she was crying, she was crawling on the floor, having no idea what in the world was happening to her. But God shielded me with his hand. Now, I was born in 1963. And, you know, when I was, I don't know, maybe it was in 1965, maybe in 1964, me walking around the house, because I've been walking since I was 7 months old, there was rat poison in the house because we had rats. And back in those days, if any human consumed rat poison, dog, cat, human, death was certain. So they kind of reconfigured they reconfigured everything. So now, if a human consumes it, that won't happen. Death will not come. But back then, death was certain. I consumed rat poison, and I did not die. I have been in 2 car accidents. I have been attacked with a knife twice. I did not die. I have been raped. I did not die. So I am still here because this story will be told and this life shall be lived. So when I have a mentoring class, which I do, it's called the 12 Life Coach Mentoring Program, I have a platform from which I can speak. I can talk about disappointments. I can talk about divorce. I can talk about being raped. I can talk about abuse. I can do that because I have lived it. I've lived it. And I'm still here. I've been in the fire and I don't even smell like smoke. So I have my t-shirt on backwards. I have it on backwards. I have it on backwards for a purpose. So on this side, it says intimacy with God. On this side, it says the chamber room experience. So, intimacy with God came first. It came first. That's what it says on the front of my shirt, which is behind me. And so, when I got to intimacy with God, it brought me to the chamber room. I learned how to lay down in the presence of the Lord. I learned how to submit to His will, to His way, to His word. I learned. I have been spoon-fed by heaven. So when I say I know, yada or da'at, that means I know because I've been there. So I went from intimacy with Him to this place, in the chamber room, in the secret place, in the place where He's speaking to me, in the place where I get downloads, in the place where He's giving me strategy, in the place where I can say, I know Him. So when I talk to you about Him, it's not from a religious, it's not from that place. It's not from the theology of a Baptist. It's not from the theology of a Episcopalian. It's not a theology that I was raised up in. I was raised up in the chamber room, where there was close proximity. So when people say things like God doesn't speak anymore or God doesn't heal anymore, I know that they don't know Him. And I know that there was no intimacy with Him. I know that. And so my experience is not from that. And as far as the word Christian, the Bible never said that Yeshua was a Christian. He never said, no, I am a follower of Yeshua. I am a follower of Torah, of the Bible. I am a follower and a lover of God. That's who I am. That's who I am. So my worship is my lifestyle. It's what I do. It's how I live. So I don't do labels, because at the end of the day, your label doesn't mean anything if there is no evidence of it. So for those that have known me or watched my life, I don't have to announce myself because they know who I am. They know. I worship the true and living God, the creator of heaven and earth, the one who sent His Son Yeshua, who some call Jesus. But Jesus is a Greek name. It's from Jesus, but this is not a Hebrew lesson. I do teach Hebrew. So my Torah, my Bible, my word, my God, in whom I trust. Who is who? Hey, Yolanda, God bless you. So, what I wanted to do, and I hope you guys go back and listen to the replay. This is my story. This is my life. This is the culture. And this will not be one of those stories that are never told. So when, like I said before, when I say that these are the things that I do, His name is, I'm going to take a moment to answer your question, Fire Wings. My God is the same God who created the heaven and earth, because there's only one that has done that. His name is Yehovah. And He sent His Son, Yeshua, John chapter 3:16. whosoever believe on him would not perish and have everlasting life. For God so loved the world, that God, for God, who so loved the world, sent his only begotten Son, that whosoever would believe on him would not perish but have everlasting life. I hope that answers your question. John 3:16. Or Yochanan 3:16. So, that's my story. That is my story. That is my life. And I am so glad that I had an opportunity to share it with you. So, for those of you that didn't catch me live, welcome to the replay. I'm Apostle Nabiya Yehuda, and this is my journey. Shalom, shalom.